So I want you to think about the absolute best idea you've ever had in your entire life, like a flash of pure, unadulterated genius.
Oh, we all have one of those.
Right. But now think about the exact moment you lost it forever because, I don't know, you couldn't remember if you had already conditioned your hair.
Yeah, the classic shower tragedy.
Exactly. So today's deep dive is, well, it's about the graveyard of our own brilliance. We are exploring that sacred, deeply frustrating space between, inspiration and execution.
It's a very messy space.
So messy. Have you ever solved the meaning of life on a delayed flight only to completely forget it before the beverage cart even arrived? Because if so, this deep dive is entirely about you. We are looking at a truly impossible, hilarious, and just painfully relatable book called The Collected Works of Someone Who Almost Said It.
Yeah, and I have to say it is a totally unique piece of source material. I mean, published by Ephemeral Press, this text is essentially it's a reconstruction of the lost thoughts of a figure they only call the almost author.
The Almost Author, I love that.
Right. And a group calling himself the Almost Editorial Collective went to just incredible lengths to assemble this. I mean, they dug through 17 scattered notes apps, 3 water-damaged moleskin journals, 47 open browser tabs,
Oh my gosh, 47.
47, and one 7-minute voice memo that is honestly mostly just the hollow echo of a running shower.
It is the ultimate monument to unwritten masterpieces. Like
Yeah.
the core argument here is that the most prolific writers, the greatest philosophers of our time, are actually the ones who never put pen to paper at all.
Precisely.
So we are going to watch brilliant ideas dissolve like soap suds circling a drain. And in doing so, we are going to try to figure out the actual cognitive mechanics of like why our brains betray us this way.
Yeah, and to really understand that betrayal, we have to start where human consciousness is perhaps at its most unguarded, right? Like isolated and vulnerable, the
Yeah.
shower.
Ah, yes, the tiled box of truth.
Exactly. Because before we can analyze how we interact with the rest of the world, we need to look at how we talk to ourselves when we are just trapped in a warm, wet box. The collective begins the book with a recovered note they titled The 7:14 a.m. Revelation.
Wait, is this the wetness of being epiphany?
Yes, the wetness of being. So at 7:14 a.m., under adequate water pressure, this unnamed genius briefly formulated a unified theory of human consciousness and free will.
Just casually before coffee.
Totally casually. They somehow managed to connect quantum physics, the communication pathways of underground mycelium networks, and this is my favorite part, a passing piece of advice their grandmother once gave them about baking bread.
Right, which was literally just the phrase, let it
Let's
rise.
let it rise.
Which, I mean, stripped of context, actually sounds like a beautiful, profound thought.
It does. It really does.
But then, we see the exact moment this genius is forced to negotiate with physical reality. Like, our protagonist tries to write this revelation down in their phone. They're dripping wet, and their brain just violently pivots from, we are flowing rivers of time to frantically Googling the percentage of water in the human body.
Which is such a classic derailment.
It is. So, like, why does the brain give us the secrets of the universe in the shower only to instantly snatch them away?
Well, what's fascinating here is how the brain negotiates with reality. It comes down to something neurologists call the default mode network.
Okay.
When you are doing a highly routine, low-stakes task like washing your body, your brain's executive control center basically goes on autopilot. It
Yeah.
stops actively managing your focus.
So it's just coasting.
Right, and this allows the default mode network to take over, which is the part of your brain responsible for, mind-wandering, daydreaming, making bizarre, nonlinear connections.
Which explains why quantum physics and grandma's bread suddenly seem like intrinsically linked. Okay, let's unpack this. Because the book outlines the fragility of that network so perfectly with what they call the 18-stage shower epiphany cycle.
Oh, documented on a foggy mirror, no less.
Yes. So you hit stage 4, which is complete clarity. You've solved the human condition. But by stage 7, you encounter the distraction.
With soap drops.
Right. Or you question your shampoo routine. And the moment that happens, the fragile neural network holding that grand idea just completely collapses.
Yeah, and stage 18 is literally just forgetting to buy a waterproof notebook again.
I love the shampoo dilemma so much. You're standing there holding the bottle, completely paralyzed, forgetting if you've already washed your hair. I feel like it's like Schrodinger's hair.
Schrodinger's hair.
Yeah. You are suspended in shampoo limbo, both shampooed and unshampooed, until actively observed by your own consciousness.
That's a great way to put it. And that sudden need to observe reality is what crashes your working memory.
Really? Just the
Mhm.
observation.
Yeah, because your working memory is essentially your brain's short-term RAM. It can only hold a few items at once.
Yeah.
So when a sudden physical distraction occurs, your brain dumps the philosophical epiphany to dedicate processing power to, catching a slippery object.
Oh, wow.
The expert, or rather the author, actually coined a term for this. They call it the "oh shit, I dropped it again" principle.
Right. They theorize that soap exists in this quantum state where it only drops the exact moment you are confident you won't drop it.
Exactly. The mere observation of your own confidence is what triggers the physical failure.
It's so true. But, the shower isn't just a laboratory for philosophy in this
Oh,
book.
no, definitely not.
It's also this arena for intense psychological combat. Like, the editors recovered 4 different versions of an epic argument with a coworker dubbed Kevin from marketing.
Oh, Kevin.
Yeah. Apparently, Kevin dismissed one of the author's ideas in a meeting by smugly saying, let's circle back to reality.
The ultimate corporate insult.
Truly. And in the shower, our anonymous thinker just destroys Kevin. Like, we're talking eloquent, devastating monologues about corporate bureaucracy, the death of imagination.
Oh, in one draft, they deliver a speech so powerful they quit on the spot, and Kevin is left ruined, just questioning his entire existence.
Right. But then we get the notes from reality. Like, when they actually bumped into Kevin in the break room later that day, they just mumbled, ha ha, yeah.
Yeah, it's tragic. The contrast is staggering, but it really highlights a massive cognitive blind spot.
How so?
Well, in the shower, you control all the variables. The opposition has no free will.
That makes sense. But I do have to push back a little on how the book frames this whole thing.
Okay, lay it on me.
Because our protagonist seems to view these shower arguments as this profound, mindful exploration of what they, should have said. But are these shower arguments actually therapeutic for our ego? Or are they just pathetic revenge fantasies masquerading as mindfulness?
I mean, the text ultimately points to the latter, though it does serve a vital biological function.
Really? A
Yeah.
biological function?
Yeah, it's an ego buffering mechanism.
Uh-huh.
When Kevin humiliated them, it triggered a social threat response. And the brain hates unresolved social threats.
Oh, interesting.
So the shower becomes a simulator where the brain can process the sting of rejection in an environment where it absolutely cannot be heard. The tragedy, as you pointed out with the ha-ha yeah,
Yeah.
is that running a simulation where you control both sides does precisely nothing to improve your real-world conflict resolution skills.
Right. It makes a complete sense that we feel invincible in the shower because we're totally isolated. But what happens to that false confidence when we step out of the bathroom and find ourselves surrounded by hundreds of strangers?
A completely different psychological landscape.
Exactly. The book transitions from the static isolation of the shower into the forced collective forward motion of the morning commute.
Yeah, the editors call this section the commuter's canvas. And the shift from private space to public transit is jarring. Because if the shower is where we invent arguments with coworkers, the commute is where we project entire fictional universes onto total strangers.
Yes. Oh my gosh, somewhere between stops 4 and 12 on the Blue Line, our narrator conceives what they call the Great Transit Novel.
A sweeping epic.
It really is. It's about a millennial named Marcus who inherits a watch shop but literally doesn't know how to fix watches. And in transit, it feels like the most beautiful, poignant metaphor for time and inheritance and modern generational trauma.
Sure, yeah.
But the second they arrive at the office, sit down at a desk, and actually open a Word document, they realize Marcus is actually an incredibly boring guy who just sits in a quiet shop all day doing nothing.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this phenomenon happens because a commute is fundamentally a liminal space.
A liminal space.
Yeah, it's a threshold. You are in physical and psychological suspension. You aren't your home self anymore, but you aren't yet your office self. And because you are physically in motion and execution is impossible, ideas just flow freely.
Because they aren't subjected to the friction of reality.
Precisely.
Well, here's where it gets really interesting to me. I think the perfect transit idea is essentially a mirage. Like, it only looks like a masterpiece because the destination, the office, forces you to abandon it before you have the chance to ruin it.
Right.
If you had to stay on that train for 4 hours and actually write the plot, you'd realize Marcus the watchmaker has nowhere to go. The limitation is what makes it feel brilliant.
The lack of execution preserves the illusion of perfection. And we see this illusion extend to the people around us, too.
Oh, the tote bag woman.
Yes, the tote bag woman. There's this 25-minute bus ride observation of someone the author calls the tote bag woman. She's reading a one paperback, carrying a canvas bag, staring thoughtfully out the window,
Naturally.
naturally. And our narrator constructs an entire, deeply complex indie literary life for her. Like, she curates houseplants, she drinks loose-leaf tea, she has complicated philosophical feelings about social media.
Only to realize months later, when he happens to stand right behind her in line at a coffee shop or something, that the mysterious faded text on her canvas bag literally just says, "I'd rather be reading."
I'd rather be reading, just the most basic slogan.
It completely shatters the illusion. But I have a question here. Isn't projecting an entire tragic backstory onto a woman with a tote bag just a way of performing our own intellectual identity?
Oh, absolutely.
Because it feels like we aren't actually seeing the other person, we're just using them as props in our own internal indie movie.
The author eventually confesses to exactly that. The projections are entirely about the narrator's desperate need to feel like an observant, literary person amidst the incredibly mundane reality of public transit.
Right.
And this leads directly into the sociological observation they call the headphone paradox, which they noted on Bus 47.
The headphone paradox is brilliant. So we all put on massive noise-canceling headphones to broadcast a clear signal. Do not talk to me. I am in my bubble.
Right, we demand absolute respect for our boundaries.
But the second we have an observation, or we feel the urge to comment on a delayed train, we feel completely justified in tapping someone else's shoulder.
We violate the very rule we set up.
Exactly. We turn shared public space into our own personal narrative sandbox while fiercely guarding our own borders.
It's the ultimate cognitive dissonance of modern city living. And this environment dictates the very structure of our thoughts. I mean, they attempt to compose 575 haikus based on the rhythm of traffic lights.
The traffic haikus. Oh, my absolute favorite one is merging is a dance. Nobody knows the steps, but we all try anyway.
It's a genuinely lovely sentiment about human cooperation.
Right up until you count it and realize we all try anyway is 6 syllables.
So 6 syllables, yeah.
The rhythm of the commute literally breaks the poetry.
The forced proximity, the noise, the schedule, it all dictates the mind's behavior. But inevitably, that structured, noisy part of the day gives way to the unstructured, isolating, terrifying expanse of the middle of the night.
The 3 a.m. void.
The void.
We move from the overwhelming noise of society into just deafening silence. And this is where human logic just completely spectacularly breaks down.
The editors categorize these late-night notes as the insomnia gospels.
Insomnia gospels.
Yeah. At 3 a.m., the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain responsible for logic, reason, and filtering out bad ideas, is exhausted. The defensive filters are down, so the brain starts making connections that daylight will reveal to be utter nonsense.
Like the 2.47 a.m. treatise. Out of nowhere, our genius realizes that everything is connected. The internet, neural pathways, mycelium networks, and boom, we are back to grandma's bread.
The yeast is consciousness.
Everything is expanding.
Right, because the critical evaluation center is asleep, pattern recognition goes into overdrive, every tiny observation feels like a cosmic revelation. I mean, there's an entry where the author spends an hour watching a 5-blade ceiling fan on medium speed.
Wait, they stared at the fan for an hour.
An hour. And they descend into a mathematical madness. They realize that if the low setting is 100 RPM and high is 500 RPM, the exact middle should be 300.
Okay, following the math.
But what if the internal gears are actually set at 100 and 400? Then real medium is 250, which doesn't exist on the dial.
Oh, boy.
Therefore, medium is a lie manufactured by the fan company.
Right.
Language is arbitrary. Existence is arbitrary.
It's a flawless, paranoid descent into madness triggered by a home appliance. I love it. And then at 4.07 a.m., they conceive the grand spiral pulse theory. It's the unified theory of the universe. Like, everything pulses, everything spirals, time, space, matter. It's all a spiral pulse. But by 4.13 a.m., the cognitive stamina just collapses.
It's gone.
When they wake up in the morning, the Notes app literally just says spiral pulse with 3 question marks.
This raises an important question, though, right? Because the juxtaposition of midnight certainty and morning confusion really highlights the state of consciousness itself.
Yeah.
The text explores this agonizing state called Schrodinger's sleep.
Oh, this is the worst.
It is the tragedy where the mere realization that you are almost asleep is exactly what jolts you awake.
It is the absolute worst biological glitch. The 3 a.m. brain is basically a dimly lit nightclub. Under the neon lights and the exhaustion, every idea you dance with looks like a flawless 10 out of 10.
That's A very accurate analogy.
Right. You feel like a highly tuned radio antenna picking up cosmic signals. But when the harsh fluorescent lights of the morning sun turn on, you realize that unified theory of the universe you were dancing with is actually just a sweaty cocktail napkin with spiral pulse scrawled on it.
Exactly.
But I do have a real question here for you.
Sure.
If an idea like the spiral pulse feels like a profound phenomenological truth in the dark, but it looks like complete epistemic nonsense in the daylight, which version of reality are we actually supposed to trust? And actually, for anyone who fell asleep in Philosophy 101, can you quickly remind us what the difference between phenomenological and epistemic truth is here?
Of course, yeah. So epistemic truth is about objective, factual accuracy, things we can prove in the daylight.
Right.
Phenomenological truth, on the other hand, is about the subjective lived experience of a thing. The genuine physical feeling of awe or understanding, regardless of the facts.
Got it.
Both are real experiences, they're just measured differently. And we see this exact tension during their 3:20 scene AM bathroom trip, where they just stare at their shadow on the wall.
Oh, the profound realization about shadows.
Yes. They decide that shadows are actually proof of existing in the light. And in their sleep-deprived state, they start blending Carl Jung's concept of the psychological shadow self, Peter Pan physically losing his shadow, and just a fundamental misunderstanding of Plato's cave.
Wait, pause. Give us the quick refresher on Plato's cave so we understand exactly how badly they misunderstood it.
Right, so Plato's cave is a famous allegory where prisoners are chained in a cave facing a blank wall. People behind them carry objects in front of a fire, casting shadows on the wall. The prisoners think the shadows are reality because they've never seen the real objects.
It's a metaphor for ignorance.
Exactly. But our 3 a.m. author decides the allegory is backwards. They deduce that we aren't the prisoners trapped seeing shadows, we are the objects casting them, which means we are inherently made of light.
Which is, geometrically factual. You need to block light to cast a shadow, but philosophically, it completely misses Plato's point.
Completely misses it. Yet, the text notes that this jumbled logic gave the author genuine, profound comfort in the dark.
See, the epistemic truth was wrong, but the phenomenological truth, that comfort, was very real.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have all these wild internal neuroses. We've got the false confidence of the shower, the projected narratives of the bus, the manic logic of the 3 a.m. void. What happens when this unnamed genius tries to actually package this internal chaos into viral essays for the public?
Oh, the gap between intention and action becomes a chasm. It's a beautiful irony in this section of the book.
Because they desperately want to communicate, but they completely fail to bridge the gap.
Right. The editors recovered drafts of an essay titled "In Defense of Never Responding to That Email." It intricately details the 6 waves of email guilt.
Oh, I know this guilt.
We all do. Day 1 is manageable, you're just busy.
Yeah.
But by month 4, the apology required for being so incredibly late becomes so massive, it actually crowds out the actual response you originally wanted to send.
Yes. If you are listening to this deep dive right now, I guarantee you have an email or a text message sitting on your phone from 3 months ago that you are terrified to look at.
Sitting like a landmine.
The author captures this perfectly. It becomes an infinite loop. The crushing guilt actually takes less energy to maintain than writing the multi-paragraph apology reply, so the email just sits there haunting your inbox until you die.
And this avoidance spills over into an essay on metacommunication. The author rigorously breaks down how phrases like, "we need to talk," or "let's unpack that," or "let's circle back."
Kevin's favorite phrase.
Kevin's favorite, yeah. How these are really just performative vocabulary. We use this corporate therapy speak to perform the idea of communication, strictly so we can avoid actual messy vulnerability.
The irony, of course, is that the author spent weeks outlining an essay about avoiding communication, strictly as a way to avoid communicating with someone in their real life.
Exactly. They are hyper-attuned to the noise of modern life, but completely unable to harmonize with it. You see this in their list of apartment sounds, the mystery beep, the 3 a.m. bang from the upstairs neighbor. It reflects our collective modern anxiety perfectly.
They even try to write a Swiftian satire to fix society called A Modest Proposal for Fixing Everything.
Aye.
But because they are so overwhelmed by the friction of reality, the grand satirical climax devolves into a desperate, unironic demand for a mandatory adult nap time from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. every day.
The author's just deeply existentially tired. Ultimately, they attempt to write their magnum opus, the unified theory of me, to explain their worldview.
Yeah.
But it fails.
Why does it fail?
Because they realize their core philosophy is a walking contradiction. Their grand thesis is literally just People are good and selfish, everything matters and nothing matters, and both things can be true.
So what does this all mean? Because when someone says both things can be true about major moral or philosophical contradictions, it honestly feels like a massive cop-out.
It does feel that way.
It's like buying a $2,000 piece of gym equipment just to hang your dirty laundry on it. The intention of writing the essay or claiming to hold a complex worldview gives you the dopamine hit of intellectual productivity without forcing you to do the actual heavy lifting of defending a point.
Right.
So by claiming both things can be true about everything, isn't this genius just refusing to take a real stance on anything?
Well, the author actually wrestles with that exact paralysis. Like, are they embracing the nuanced reality of the world, or are they just paralyzed by indecision?
Right.
The text suggests that this paralysis is a universal modern condition. We are inundated with so much conflicting information, so many perfectly articulated perspectives on the internet, that taking a rigid stance feels either intellectually dishonest or just terrifyingly vulnerable.
So we draft essays we never publish.
We construct arguments in the shower we never deliver. We hold beliefs we never fully commit to.
Because it's safer in the drafts folder. You can't be criticized for an idea that only exists in your head. Which honestly brings us back to the core realization of this entire deep dive.
Yeah.
The real tragedy of the collected works of someone who almost said, it isn't that these ideas weren't written down or, monetized.
No.
The tragedy is that we have been conditioned to tie our human value entirely to execution.
We operate under the assumption that an idea only has worth if it is published, shared, or validated by an audience. But perhaps an observation, a beautiful, fleeting thought about time on a bus, or a sudden realization about water in the shower serves its entire cosmic purpose simply by being thought in that exact moment.
I really love that.
It doesn't have to be a viral essay to be real. The unwritten thoughts are what weave the rich texture of our inner lives.
That is an incredibly freeing way to look at it. So for you listening right now,
Yeah.
sometime today, I want you to open your phone, look at your own Notes app graveyard, look at the half-finished grocery lists, the bizarre 2 a.m. song lyrics, the brilliant startup ideas that make no sense, and the shower arguments you never actually have.
Just look at all of it.
And forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for the brilliant novels and viral essays that will never see the light of day. They were yours, they existed for you in that moment, and that is enough.
Because the mind is a chaotic place, and simply experiencing it is an act of creation in itself.
Absolutely. But I want to leave you with one final, slightly provocative thought to mull over on your own, something we haven't even touched on yet.
Okay.
If humanity ever invented a piece of neural technology that could instantly transcribe all of our fleeting, half-baked 3 a.m. epiphanies and shower thoughts with 100% accuracy, would we discover that true individuality doesn't actually exist?
Oh, wow.
What if we are all harboring the exact same unique inner monologue, and the only thing that actually makes us unique is the specific, messy, beautiful ways we inevitably fail to execute those ideas? Think about that next time you drop the shampoo.